What's up, people? This is just a discussion talking about Jake Paul. Now, Jake Paul, this is not a shot on him or a knock on Jake Paul or me trying to hate on the guy or nothing like that. But I'm here to tell you that Jake Paul, the whole Jake Paul stuff is not real. Jake Paul is not somebody that is even a good boxer or even close to being a good boxer. Jake Paul has fooled people into believing that he's a really good boxer by fighting against guys that are not good boxers. He has created this delusion that makes it seem like that he is a boxer. And I'm going to give you some examples of what I'm talking about in this discussion. Okay, so you know, we know how he started with the other YouTuber. I don't even recall the guy's name. And eventually he fought like Nate Robinson from the NBA. And then he fought some other guys and he was winning all these fights. And some people started to buy into this. Man, Jake Paul can box. He's a really good boxer. I bet he can beat real boxers. I bet he's really good. But he is absolutely not. And I'm gonna let you know why that is. It's because when a person does anything in life consistently, they make their adjustments based on their natural experience. So basically what I'm saying is if he was getting in there boxing real boxers, like guys that were established and trained boxers regularly on a consistent basis, and those were his opponents, his adjustments would be enhanced and would look different from the standpoint of how much more he does certain things in training, what he works on more, and all that type of stuff. All that would look dramatically different if he was really fighting against guys that were actually skilled. If I play basketball and I'm playing one-on-one constantly and I'm making videos of myself play one-on-one, but I'm playing against guys that don't really play basketball, there's a good chance I might go undefeated. I may even fool you into believing that I'm an excellent basketball player. Because after all, you keep seeing me play one-on-one with these people, and I'm beating all of them. I'm taking them straight to school. They can't guard me. They can't do that with me. And after a while, maybe it might even get to my head, and I might start buying into the hype and thinking that I'm this great boxer or great basketball player. And then fast forward, I beat all these guys that don't really play basketball, and I start thinking that I'm this great basketball player, and then you put me one-on-one in a basketball game with somebody who's, I don't know, an NBA player, and then I look horrible. I looked the way Jake Paul looked against Anthony Joshua. The guy was crawling on the floor and stuff. It didn't even make sense. But that's what it looks like when you're not a boxer at all. You've convinced the world that you can box, and you get in there with somebody that can. That is why that fight looked like that. There's no other excuse for that. It has nothing to do with size or nothing like that. It's because the guy didn't really know what he was doing against a guy who actually is a true established heavyweight boxer, one of the top guys historically. That is what that fight looks like. You put him up against a guy that's pushing 60, who used to be really good. You got Mike Tyson. There's another way to create this false delusion that I'm really good. Let's take the whole basketball narrative that I was just talking about. I'm beating guys one-on-one in basketball who don't really play basketball, and then I'm like, well, I'm going to prove myself. I'm going to beat a basketball player. And then I play somebody that's pushing 60, and I beat him one-on-one. And, oh, he really can play. He beat XYZ. And that guy used to be a pro. So now I'm further pulling you into this whole delusion that I'm this excellent basketball player. That is all Jake Paul's doing. It's like beating up on guys in the neighborhood and then acting like that actually proves something. Because a guy like Nate Robinson, okay, you know what, forget about that. Let's talk about the MMA fighters. Everything he does is based on creating a narrative or a delusion that he's a great boxer. What if I beat fighters, MMA fighters? People are really gonna buy into that because after all, these guys do fight. So he gets in there with Ben Askren, a guy who is known for wrestling and is not known for a stand-up game at all. It almost looks like he picked and chose his opponents accordingly. And then he knocks him out. Then he beats Tyron Woodley twice. He even beat Nate Diaz. These guys can't box. Oh, Nate knocked a few people out in the UFC with his fist. Yeah, he did, but he doesn't have boxing defensive talent at all. His boxing defense is flawed. Dramatically flawed. It is not on par with somebody who can get in there and box. If he would have fought somebody that was a real boxer and it wasn't Jake Paul, he would have got destroyed even worse. He's strong enough to survive Jake Paul, but he doesn't defend himself well. And I was like, well, I got to give him credit. He beat Anderson Silva. Anderson Silva had his foot in boxing. Well, I looked at the Anderson Silva vs. Tyron Woodley fight. The guy looks completely aged out. And he is. That's not much. He fought 2 current boxers that are currently boxers, and he got beaten both of those fights. Those are his only 2 losses. The rest of the fights where he fights guys that are either a lot elderly or they're not boxers at all. He wins those fights. That doesn't work in any other narrative. If I beat guys that don't play basketball really, one-on-one, I can't call myself a good basketball player because I beat them or because I beat somebody that's close to 60 years old that played a really long time ago. So why does that work with him? It's because of the marketing and the casual fan base. They lack understanding on what this stuff really is and what this stuff is actually about. Jake Paul, he's good enough to put gloves on and have a boxing match. His skill set, his technique is extremely basic. It is not high level at all. Why? Because even though he's been doing it for years, his adjustments and his training are based on the experiences that he's had, and it hasn't been against real boxing opponents. So when you do something at a lower level and your opponents are at a lower level and you train to get better, you're not going to train the same way as somebody who is getting in there with guys that are trained real boxers. Your adjustments are going to be completely different. And I think at some point he bought into it and he started to really think that he was this guy that could really box. Honestly, and I know he's just out there for the money and he runs his mouth. For the most part, it's just to make money. That's all it is. It's not really much more than that. It really isn't anything more than that. He's just talking his way into these big paychecks, fooling people into believing that he can actually box. I'm not going to say he's a fraud. I think he's a gimmick fight. Not really fraud because he has never, no, he's not a fraud. He is exactly what he showed you, a guy that is a gimmick, and he can beat guys that don't box. He can beat guys that boxed a really long time ago that are close to 60. He can beat guys that don't have a real boxing record. That's what he is. But I think at some point his ego got into his head. It started to get to his head. And I think there was a part of him that actually believed that he was actually at that level. But I do think the Anthony Joshua thing was just for the cash. I don't know that he could have been delusional enough in real life to think that he could actually beat Anthony Joshua. I don't know if there's enough delusion in the world to actually think something like that. But you never know. I'm not going to put it past him. The ego is a crazy thing, the way the mind works. You can fool yourself into believing crap that ain't real just based on an experience that you've had. If I go around my neighborhood bullying people, beating people up, after a while, it might get to my head. I might start thinking I'm really a badass. There's nobody on my level. I can beat anybody up. because I'm out here picking on these average Joes that don't even fight. It's all delusion. It's not real. Jake Paul is not somebody that can actually really box with real boxers, and he never will be. He's not that kind of guy. You put Jake Paul in there with 4 professional boxers over the next 2 years that are currently boxers and fairly established, not even at the top. Go in the middle of the rankings. Now, if you go to the absolute bottom, you're pretty much fighting guys that have not much experience either. So he may have some level of chance there. That still doesn't prove much of anything. You go to the middle and you go 0-4. Listen, I'm not trying to hate on the guy. I'm not crapping on him, but I'm telling you right now, Jake Paul is not a boxer, and he is not very good, and he cannot box real, actual, current professional boxers.